Okay, tonight is 28th of July 2010. Now we come to Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 24, Ratta Vinita Sutta, the relay chariots. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. Then a number of monks from the Blessed One's native land, who had spent the rains there, went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, sat down at one side. The Blessed One asked them, "Monks, who in my native land is esteemed by the monks there, by his companions in the holy life in this way? Having few wishes himself, he talks to the monks on fewness of wishes. Content himself, he talks to the monks on contentment. Secluded himself, he talks to the monks on seclusion. Aloof from society himself, he talks to the monks on aloofness from society. Energetic himself, he talks to the monks on arousing energy. Attained to virtue himself, he talks to the monks on the attainment of virtue. Attained to concentration himself, he talks to the monks on the attainment of concentration. Attained to wisdom himself, he talks to the monks on the attainment of wisdom. Attained to deliverance or liberation himself, he talks to the monks on the attainment of deliverance. Attained to the knowledge and vision of deliverance himself, he talks to the monks on the attainment of the knowledge and vision of deliverance. He is one who advises, informs, instructs, urges, rouses, and encourages his companions in the holy life." Stop here for a moment. So here you can see what the Buddha means by a monk who is esteemed or respected by other monks. A monk who is respected, who practices the holy path. He has few wishes, is content, secluded. Secluded means he tends to live alone, and aloof from society. Even if he does live in a monastery, he is aloof from others. Energetic himself, then he is virtuous, and then he has concentration, wisdom, and deliverance or liberation. And also he advises and instructs and encourages his companions in the holy life. Such a monk would be respected by other monks. Venerable Sir, the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta is so esteemed in the Blessed One's native land by the monks there, by his companions in the holy life. Now on that occasion, the Venerable Sariputta was seated near the Blessed One. Then it occurred to the Venerable Sariputta, "It is a gain for the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta. It is a great gain for him that his wise companions in the holy life praise him point by point in the teacher's presence. Perhaps sometime or other we might meet the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta and have some conversation with him." Stop here for a moment. So here, this Venerable Sariputta, at that time he had not met this Puna. So he thought it would be good if you can meet him. His name is Puna Mantani Putta. Putta means son. That means his mother's name was Mantani. So his name is Puna, son of Mantani. Mantani Putta. Then when the Blessed One had stayed at Rajagaha as long as he chose, he set out to wander by stages to Savatthi. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Savatthi. And there he lived in the Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. The Venerable Puna Mantani Putta heard, "The Blessed One has arrived at Savatthi and is living at Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park." Then the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta set his resting place in order, and taking his outer robe and bowl, set out to wander by stages to Savatthi. Wandering by stages, he eventually arrived at Savatthi and went to Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park, to see the Blessed One. After paying homage to the Blessed One, he sat down at one side, and the Blessed One instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged him with talk on the Dhamma. Then the Venerable Puna Mantaniputta, instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged by the Blessed One's talk on the Dhamma, delighting and rejoicing in the Blessed One's words, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he went to the blind man's grove for the day's abiding. Then a certain monk went to the Venerable Sariputta and said to him, "Friend Sariputta, the monk Puna Mantaniputta, of whom you have always spoken highly, has just been instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged by the Blessed One with talk on the Dhamma. After delighting and rejoicing in the Blessed One's words, he rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he has gone to the blind man's grove for the day's abiding." Then the Venerable Sariputta quickly picked up the mat and followed close behind the Venerable Puna Mantaniputta, keeping his head inside. Then the Venerable Puna Mantaniputta entered the blind man's grove and sat down for the day's abiding at the root of a tree. The Venerable Sariputta also entered the blind man's grove and sat down for the day's abiding at the root of a tree. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Sariputta rose from meditation and went to the Venerable Puna Mantaniputta and exchanged greetings with him. I'll stop here for a moment. During the Buddha's time, the monks in the morning, they would go for their alms round to get their meal. And after the meal, they would, after they have taken their meal, then they would find a secluded place to go and meditate the whole day. So in this case, this Puna Mantaniputta, he went to this place called the Blind Man's Grove. And the monks would come together in the evening when the sun sets to discuss Dhamma. So here you see Venerable Sariputta, he wanted to speak to this Puna, but since he knew that this Puna was going to meditate, he didn't want to interrupt him. So he waited until evening after meditating the whole day. Then he went to see this Puna. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Venerable Puna Mantaniputta, "Is the holy life lived under our Blessed One, friend?" "Yes, friend." In other words, you belong to the Bhagava Sangha. And he said, "Yes." "But friend, is it for the sake of purification of virtue that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the sake of purification of mind that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the sake of purification of view that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the purification by overcoming doubt that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the sake of purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the sake of purification by knowledge and vision of the way that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." "Then is it for the sake of purification by knowledge and vision that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?" "No, friend." So the Venerable Sariputta asked him all these questions, and to each of them he said, "No, friend." And Venerable Sariputta said, "Friend," this friend is a translation of avuso. "Friend, when asked, 'But friend, is it for the sake of purification of virtue that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One?' you replied, 'No, friend.' When asked, 'Then is it for the sake of purification of mind and purification of view, purification by overcoming doubt, etc.?' And to all this you replied, 'No, friend.' For the sake of what then, friend, is the holy life lived under the Blessed One?" And Puna said, "Friend, it is for the sake of final Nibbana without clinging that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One." So the ultimate aim of the holy life is Nibbana. "But friend, is purification of virtue final Nibbana without clinging?" "No, friend," Puna replied. "Then is purification of mind final Nibbana without clinging?" "No, friend." "Then is purification of view final Nibbana without clinging?" "No, friend." "Then is purification by overcoming doubt final Nibbana without clinging?" "No, friend." "Then is purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path final Nibbana without clinging?" "No, friend." Then is purification by knowledge and vision of the way, final nibbana without clinging, no friend. Then is purification by knowledge and vision, final nibbana without clinging, no friend. But friend is final nibbana without clinging to be attained without these states, no friend. And Venerable Sariputta again asked, when asked, but friend, is purification of virtue final nibbana without clinging? You replied, no friend. When asked, then is purification of mind, purification of you, etc., final nibbana without clinging? And to each of this you said, no friend. But how, friend, should the meaning of these statements be regarded? And Puna said, friend, if the Blessed One had described purification of virtue as final nibbana without clinging, he would have described what is still accompanied by clinging as final nibbana without clinging. If the Blessed One had described purification of mind, or purification of view, purification by overcoming doubt, etc., as final nibbana without clinging, he would have described what is still accompanied by clinging as final nibbana without clinging. And if final nibbana without clinging were to be attained without these states, then an ordinary person would have attained final nibbana, for an ordinary person is without these states. I'll stop here for a moment. So you see earlier, Puna said that all these 7 purifications is not the purpose of the holy life. The aim of the holy life is to attain final nibbana. And then also he says that all these purifications is not final nibbana without clinging. They still there is still clinging in these purifications. And Venerable Puna said, as to that, friend, I shall give you a simile, for some wise men understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Suppose that King Pasenadi of Kosala, while living at Savatthi, had some urgent business to settle at Saketa, and that between Savatthi and Saketa, 7 relay chariots were kept ready for him. Then King Pasenadi of Kosala, leaving Savatthi through the inner palace door, would mount the first relay chariot, and by means of the first relay chariot, he would arrive at the second relay chariot. Then he would dismount from the first chariot and mount the second chariot, and by means of the second chariot, he would arrive at the third chariot. By means of the third chariot, he would arrive at the fourth chariot. By means of the fourth chariot, he would arrive at the fifth chariot. By means of the fifth chariot, he would arrive at the sixth chariot. By means of the sixth chariot, he would arrive at the seventh chariot. By means of the seventh chariot, he would arrive at the inner palace door in Saketa. Then when he had come to the inner palace door, his friends and acquaintances, his kinsmen and relatives would ask him, Sire, did you come from Savatthi to the inner palace door in Saketa by means of this relay chariot? How then should King Pasenadi of Kosala answer in order to answer correctly? And Venerable Sariputta said, in order to answer correctly, friend, he should answer thus. Here, while living at Savatthi, I had some urgent business to settle at Saketa, and between Savatthi and Saketa, 7 relay chariots were kept ready for me. Then, leaving Savatthi through the inner palace door, I mounted the first relay chariot, and by means of the first relay chariot, I arrived at the second relay chariot. Then I dismounted from the first chariot and mounted the second chariot, and by means of the second chariot, I arrived at the third. Similarly, and the fourth, fifth, sixth, and the seventh chariot. And by means of the seventh chariot, I arrived at the inner palace door in Saketa. In order to answer correctly, he should answer thus. Stop here for a moment. So here, Venerable Sariputta is answering what this Venerable Puna asked him. And Venerable Puna is saying that these 7 purifications are just like this relay chariots. One will bring you to the next, and the next will bring you to the next, etc. And then Venerable Puna says, so too, friend, Purification of virtue is for the sake of reaching purification of mind. Purification of mind is for the sake of reaching purification of view. Purification of view is for the sake of reaching purification by overcoming doubt. Purification by overcoming doubt is for the sake of reaching purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path. Purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path is for the sake of reaching purification by knowledge and vision of the way. Purification by knowledge and vision of the way is for the sake of reaching purification by knowledge and vision. Purification by knowledge and vision is for the sake of reaching final Nibbana without clinging. It is for the sake of final Nibbana without clinging that the holy life is lived under the Blessed One. Let's stop here for a moment. So here you see these 7 purifications are just stages along the way to Nibbana. They are still states, are still not ultimate states. That's why earlier Venerable Puna said that these states still have clinging. When this was said, the Venerable Sariputta asked the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta, what is the Venerable One's name and how do his companions in the holy life know the Venerable One? My name is Puna, friend, and my companions in the holy life know me as Mantani Putta. And Venerable Sariputta says, it is wonderful, friend, it is marvelous. Each profound question has been answered point by the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta as a learned disciple who understands the teacher's dispensation correctly. It is a gain for his companions in the holy life. It's a great gain for them that they have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta. Even if it were by carrying the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta about on a cushion on their heads, so that his companions in the holy life would get the opportunity to see and honor him. It would be a gain for them, a great gain for them. And it is a gain for us, a great gain for us that we have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta. When this was said, the Venerable Puna Mantani Putta asked the Venerable Sariputta, what is the Venerable One's name? And how do his companions in the holy life know the Venerable One? My name is Upatissa, friend, and my companions in the holy life know me as Sariputta. So Sariputta, his real name is Upatissa. He is also known as Sariputta, that means the son of Sari. His mother's name is Sari. And Venerable Puna said, indeed, friend, we did not know that we were talking with the Venerable Sariputta, the disciple who is like the teacher himself. I stop here for a moment. You see here, all the monks during the Buddha's time, they know that Sariputta is the Buddha's right-hand disciple. And the Buddha always praised him as the one with the greatest wisdom. And the Buddha also says that he turns the Dhamma wheel exactly like the Buddha. So all the monks during the Buddha's time had the greatest respect for Sariputta. But later books, they like to talk bad about Sariputta, make fun of him in the Mahayana books. If we had known that this was the Venerable Sariputta, we should not have said so much. It is wonderful, friend, it is marvelous. Each profound question has been posed point by the Venerable Sariputta as a learned disciple who understands the teacher's dispensation correctly. It is a gain for his companions in the holy life. It's a great gain for them that they have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Sariputta, even if it were by carrying the Venerable Sariputta about on a cushion on their heads, that his companions in the holy life would get the opportunity to see and honor him. It would be a gain for them, a great gain for them, and it is a gain for us, a great gain for us that we have the opportunity to see and honor the Venerable Sariputta. Thus it was that these two great beings rejoice in each other's good words. So here you see two arahants, they have so much respect for each other. Now I come back to these 7 purifications. These 7 purifications have been dealt with in great detail in later books like the Visuddhimagga. In the Visuddhimagga, they have expanded on these 7 purifications and come up with some new things that the Buddha did not say. Later, monks like this, Mahasi Sayadaw, they use those the explanation found in the Visuddhimagga on these 7 purifications and created that Mahasi method of meditation, a pure vipassana. So that's why the explanation in the Visuddhimagga is detailed, but unfortunately they talk about things that are not what the Buddha says. So from the Sutta's point of view, I will try to explain each one of these. These are not dealt with explicitly in the Suttas, but here and there you can find. The first one, purification of virtue, is for the sake of reaching purification of mind. Virtue here refers to sila, moral conduct. And the Buddha always says that moral conduct is the foundation, because when you keep moral conduct, then you will not have remorse, because you don't harm others. And if you do not have remorse, then you'll be happy. And a happy mind is the foundation, the basis for concentration. So if you want to get concentration, you got to have virtue. That's why you have sila, samadhi, panya. So virtue here, purification of virtue. If you look into the Noble Eightfold Path, 3 factors comprise the virtue or sila component. These 3 is right speech, the 3rd factor, right action and right livelihood, the 3rd, 4th and 5th factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. So right speech consists of 4 precepts. What are the 4 precepts? Not to lie, not to carry tales and cause disharmony. For example, you hear A talking bad about B, don't go and tell B what A said to cause them to quarrel and fight. And then the 3rd precept, not to engage in coarse or vulgar speech. And the 4th precept is not to engage in gossip, idle talk. So these are the 4 precepts in right speech. Right action consists of 3 precepts: not to kill, not to steal, or actually it's not to take what is not given. And the 3rd one is not to engage in sexual misconduct or adultery. So that is right action. Then the 3rd factor under the sila component is right livelihood. Right livelihood means getting a livelihood in a way that does not harm others, and does not harm yourself or harm others. And for lay persons, the Buddha says that 5 types of business or trade a lay person should not engage in. Not to trade in weapons that kill, for example, gun. Not to trade in poisons that kill, for example, insecticide, herbicide. And not to trade in intoxicants like liquor or drugs, narcotics that harm others. And the 4th is not to trade in humans, slavery. Nowadays it's still done underground, illegally. And the 5th is not to rear animals for sale to be slaughtered. So these are the 5 types of trade or business that a lay person should not engage in. If he does, then it's wrong livelihood. And then wrong livelihood for a monk is stated in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 117 as scheming, talking, hinting, belittling, pursuing gain with gain. I mean scheming to get more offerings and all that. Scheming to become famous. Talking, maybe talking about the monk talking about his attainments. And then the 3rd, hinting of his attainments, of his supernormal attainments. And then the 4th, belittling other people, belittling other monks and all that. And then the 5th, pursuing gain with gain, making offerings to lay people to get more in return. So this is wrong livelihood for a monk. So that is purification of virtue. Basically, the 7 precepts and these few other things that I mentioned. And also for a monk, purification of view means upholding the precepts in the Patimokkha, the 227 precepts, and also all the monastic rules found in the Vinaya Pitaka. So there is purification of view of virtue. The second one, purification of virtue will bring you to purification of mind. This purification of mind, in the Anguttara Nikaya 4.194, utter purification of mind or complete purification of mind is stated to be the 4 jhanas, because 4 jhanas is the right or perfect concentration. So purification of mind basically means getting rid of the 5 hindrances, because in the Buddha's teachings, the main purpose of meditation is to get rid of the 5 hindrances, because the 5 hindrances prevent us from seeing things clearly as they are. And so this purification of mind is to get rid of the 5 hindrances. And to get rid of the 5 hindrances, the minimum is what is called threshold concentration or assess concentration. The Pali word is upachara samadhi, a state of concentration which is very near to the first jhana. In the Digha Nikaya, the Buddha has stated that when a monk attains this state, threshold concentration, the 5 hindrances fall away. And there are many similes given for the falling away or elimination of the 5 hindrances. One of them is like a person is set free from the prison. Another one is he has paid up his debt, he's no more in debt, etc. So the very minimum for purification of mind is the threshold concentration. And after that is the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana. Up to the third jhana is purification of mind. But when you attain the 4th jhana, then it's utter purification of mind, complete purification of mind. And complete purification of mind or utter purification of mind also includes the arupas or the arupa jhanas. So there is purification of mind, basically to get rid of the 5 hindrances. And that will bring you to purification of view. Purification of view means to get right view. And later we'll see that purification of view means listening to the Dhamma and having a reflective acceptance or understanding of the Dhamma. So when a person, his mind is rid of the 5 hindrances, he can see clearly. And when he listens to the Dhamma, he can understand clearly, and he gains a reflective acceptance of the Buddha's Dhamma. That will give him right view. And once a person gains right view, he becomes an Arya, the first stage Arya, the first path. This first path can also be called stream entry. You enter into the stream of the Aryans. So that is purification of view, to attain right view. Now in the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta 43, it is stated that to attain right view, there are 2 conditions. One is the voice of another, in other words, listening to the Dhamma from somebody else. And the second condition is thorough attention or proper attention or careful attention. So when you listen to the Dhamma and you are paying proper attention and your mind is clear enough, then you can understand the Dhamma. And when you gain reflective acceptance of the Dhamma, then you have attained right view. which here is called purification of view. But when a person enters the stream, he becomes a first path attainer. He has not got rid of any fetters yet. A Sotapanna, the first fruit Arya, he has got rid of 3 lower fetters. What are the 3? One is attachment to rules and rituals, Silabata Paramasa. Another one is doubt, getting rid of doubt. Doubt means doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And what is the other one? The 3 factors. Identity view, Sakaya Ditti. Identity view is identifying yourself with the body and mind. So you think that the body and mind is you or yours. So when a person gets rid of this identity view, then he understands that the body and the mind are impermanent. So it is not I or mine. So that is the Sotapanna. He has got rid of the 3 fetters. But as I mentioned just now, when you have purification of view, you attain the first path. That is still not yet Sotapanna, just the path, not the fruit. But purification of view will bring you to purification by overcoming doubt. This overcoming doubt should be the doubt, just as I mentioned, one of the 3 factors eliminated by the Sotapanna, which is doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, not having thorough faith or thorough confidence or trust in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. So after a person attains right view or purification of view, then he overcomes doubt. He has no more doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and that will bring him to this Sotapanna stage, the first fruit, Arya. And purification by overcoming doubt will bring the person to purification by knowledge and vision of what is the path and what is not the path. So this person has become Sotapanna, then he sees very clearly what is the path, what is not the path. He understands the Dhamma already. And after this, it will bring him to purification by knowledge and vision of the way. Purification by knowledge and vision of the way, because this person has become an Arya. He's practicing the way or the path. So he has this knowledge and vision of the way, the path, how to practice, because he's practicing that path or the way, the Noble Eightfold Path. And that will bring him to purification by knowledge and vision. This purification by knowledge and vision, that means he attains knowledge and vision. But it is mentioned earlier that all these 7 stages is still not final Nibbana, which means this 7th purification, knowledge and vision, is the various Aryan stages, short of the Arahant, short of the 4th fruit. So this person has attained knowledge and vision, is either Sotapanna or a second path attainer or second fruit attainer or third path attainer, third fruit attainer or 4th path attainer. So that will finally bring him to final Nibbana. So these are the 7 purifications that brings one to final Nibbana. So when you look into the Visuddhimagga, you find these 7 purifications are elaborated, and a lot of things they introduce. But since it is not the Buddha's teachings, there's no need to waste our time over them. Because in the, I always like to mention the Digha Nikaya Sutta number 29, Pasadika Sutta. Inside that sutta, the Buddha has stated that his Dhamma, his teachings are utterly perfect, pure and complete. And the Buddha says, if you think you want to subtract some of his teachings, you think some of his teachings are superfluous, not necessary, then the Buddha says you don't understand the Dhamma. The Buddha's Dhamma is perfect, concise, and pith. Everything in it is valuable. And the Buddha also says that if you think you want to add to his teachings, you also don't understand the Dhamma at all. So nowadays you find a lot of monks referring to other books other than the Buddha's Dhamma, books like the Visuddhimagga, the Abhidhamma, which was written much later, and commentaries and all that. So you can take it from Digha Nikaya, Sutta 29. You can take it from the Buddha himself, that all those monks who refer to all these later books, they don't understand the Dhamma. It's not what I say, it's what the Buddha says. They don't understand the Dhamma. Now we come to the next sutta, sutta number 25, Majjhima Nikaya, Nivappa Sutta, the bed. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, Monks, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said, Monks, a deer trapper does not lay down bait for a deer herd, intending thus, may the deer herd enjoy this bait that I have laid down, and so be long-lived and handsome and endure for a long time. A deer trapper lays down bait for a deer herd, intending thus, the deer herd will eat food unwarily by going right in amongst the bait that I have laid down. By so doing, they will become intoxicated. When they are intoxicated, they will fall into negligence. When they are negligent, I can do with them as I like on account of this bait. I stop here for a moment. So here, this deer trapper, he wants to trap a herd of deer. So he puts bait, some food for them, the food that they like, and he wants to trap them. Now the deer of the first herd ate food unwarily by going right in amongst the bait that the deer trapper had laid down. By so doing, they became intoxicated. When they were intoxicated, they fell into negligence. When they were negligent, the deer trapper did with them as he liked on account of that bait. That is how the deer of the first herd failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. Now the deer of the second herd reckoned thus. The deer of that first herd, by acting as they did without precaution, failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. Suppose we all together shun that bait food, shunning that fearful enjoyment, let us go out into the forest wilds and live there. And they did so. But in the last month of the hot season, when the grass and the water was used up, the bodies were reduced to extreme emaciation. With that they lost their strength and energy. When they had lost their strength and energy, they returned to that same bait that the deer trapper had laid down. They ate food unwarily by going right in amongst it. By so doing, they became intoxicated. When they were intoxicated, they fell into negligence. When they were negligent, the deer trapper did with them as he liked on account of that bait. And that is how the deer of the second herd also failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. I stop here for a moment. So here, the first herd of deer, they were greedy for the food, so they were not cautious enough. They were they didn't take enough precautions, so they ate the food unwarily, and eating so much food, they became intoxicated and negligent, and they got caught. Then the second herd of deer, they realized what had happened to the first herd, so they said, better not to eat all that food. So they went to live in the forest. But in the summer, the last month of the hot season, all the grass and the water was used up, and there was no more grass to eat. So they became so weak that they thought they had no alternative but to go and eat the bait. And they also went right in and ate so much they also became intoxicated and negligent and were caught. Now the deer of the third herd reckoned thus. The deer of that first herd, by acting as they did without precaution, failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. The deer of that second herd, by reckoning how the deer of the first herd had failed, and by planning and acting as they did with the precaution of going to live in the forest wilds, also failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. Suppose we make our dwelling place within range of the deer trapper's bait. Then having done so, we shall eat food not unwarily, and without going right in amongst the bait that the deer trapper has laid down. By doing so, we shall not become intoxicated. When we are not intoxicated, we shall not fall into negligence. When we are not negligent, the deer trapper shall not do with us as he likes on account of that bait. And they did so. But then the deer trapper and his following considered thus. These deer of this third herd are as cunning and crafty as wizards and sorcerers. They eat the bait laid down without our knowing how they come and go. Suppose we have the bait that is laid down completely surrounded all round over a wide area with wicker hurdles, then perhaps we might see the third deer herd's dwelling place where they go and hide. They did so, and they saw the third herd's dwelling place where they went to hide. And that is how the deer of the third herd also failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. Stop here for a moment. So this third herd of deer, they realized what happened to the first two herds. So they decided if you stay too far away during the summer season, there'll be nothing to eat. So they decided to stay near. And they ate the food and quickly ran out. But then this deer trapper was also very cunning. So he put all these wicker hurdles so that when the deer came in and out, so these wicker hurdles, some of it collapsed. So they knew where they came from. So they went to catch this third herd. So also the third herd got caught. Now the deer of the fourth herd reckoned thus. The deer of that first herd, by acting as they did without precaution, failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. The deer of that second herd, by reckoning how the deer of the first herd had failed, and by planning and acting as they did with the precaution of going to live in the forest wilds, also failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. And the deer of that third herd, by reckoning how the deer of the first herd and also the deer of the second herd had failed, and by planning and acting as they did, with the precaution of making their dwelling place within range of the deer trapper's bait, also failed to get free from the deer trapper's power and control. Suppose we make our dwelling place where the deer trapper and his following cannot go. Then having done so, we shall eat food not unwarily, and without going right in amongst the bait that the deer trapper has laid down. By so doing, we shall not become intoxicated. When we are not intoxicated, we shall not fall into negligence. When we are not negligent, the deer trapper shall not do with us as he likes on account of that bait. And they did so. But then the deer trapper and his following considered thus. These deer of this fourth herd are as cunning and crafty as wizards and sorcerers. They eat the bait laid down without our knowing how they come and go. Suppose we have the bait that is laid down completely surrounded all round over a wide area with wicker hurdles. Then perhaps we might see the fourth deer herd's dwelling place where they go to hide. They did so, but they did not see the fourth deer herd's dwelling place where they went to hide. Then the deer hunter and his following considered thus. If we scare the fourth deer herd, being scared they will alert others, and so the deer herds will all desert this bait that we have laid down. Suppose we treat the fourth deer herd with indifference. They did so, and that was how the deer of the fourth deer herd got free from the deer trapper's power and control. I stop here for a moment. So this fourth herd of deer, they stayed in a place where the hunter could not reach, could not go. So even though the hunter tried to find out where they live, yet the hunter was not able to go to that place where they live. Monks, I have given this simile in order to convey a meaning. This is the meaning. Bait is a term for the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. The 5 chords of sensual pleasure are beautiful sights, sounds, smells, taste, and touch. Deer trapper is a term for Mara, the evil one, Satan. The deer trapper's following is a term for Mara's following. Deer herd is a term for recluses and Brahmins, in other words, monks and ascetics. Now, recluses and Brahmins of the first kind ate food unwarily by going right in amongst the bed and the material things of the world that Mara has laid down. By so doing, they became intoxicated. When they were intoxicated, they fell into negligence. When they were negligent, Mara did with them as he liked on account of that bed and those material things of the world. That is how the recluses and Brahmins of the first kind fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins, I say, are just like the deer of the first herd. Stop here for a moment. So here, the first group of monks and ascetics, they lived near the bed and they went right in amongst the bed and ate as much as they liked until they became intoxicated and became negligent. You can say this may be similar to town monks. If monks stay in the town, they get very good offerings, and so all those offerings that are given and all that can be likened to that bed of Mara. So it's very difficult for town monks to not be caught by Mara. Now, recluses and Brahmins of the second kind reckon thus: those recluses and Brahmins of the first kind, by acting as they did without precaution, fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Suppose we all together shun that bait food and those material things of the world, shunning that fearful enjoyment, let us go out into the forest wilds and live there. And they did so. There they were eaters of greens or millet or wild rice or hide parings or moss or rice bran or the discarded scum of boiled rice or sesame flour or grass or cow dung. They lived on forest roots and fruits. They fed on fallen fruits. But in the last month of the hot season, when the grass and the water were used up, the bodies were reduced to extreme emaciation. With that, they lost their strength and energy. When they had lost their strength and energy, they lost their deliverance of mind. With the loss of their deliverance of mind, they returned to that same bed that Mara had laid down. And those material things of the world, they ate food unwillingly by going right in amongst it. By so doing, they became intoxicated. When they were intoxicated, they fell into negligence. When they were negligent, Mara did with them as he liked on account of that bed and those material things of the world. That is how those recluses and Brahmins of the second kind fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins, I say, are just like the deer of the second herd. So here this second group of monks and ascetics are likened to this forest ascetics. There are some monks, they live in the deep forest and they feed on the fallen fruits and the roots of the trees. And but then in the last month of the hot season, all these are not available and they have not much to eat. Then they come back into the towns, and then they get careless, eat as much as they like and all that, and they got caught by Mara. Now, recluses and Brahmins of the third kind reckon thus: those recluses and Brahmins of the first kind, by acting as they did without precaution, fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins of the second kind, by reckoning how the recluses and Brahmins of the first kind had failed, and then planning and acting as they did with the precaution of going to live in the forest wilds, also fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Suppose we make our dwelling place within range of that bed that Mara has laid down and those material things of the world. Then having done so, we shall eat food not unwarily, and without going right in amongst the bed that Mara has laid down and the material things of the world. By so doing, we shall not become intoxicated. When we are not intoxicated, we shall not fall into negligence. When we are not negligent, Mara shall not do with us as he likes on account of that bed and those material things of the world. And they did so. But then they came to hold views such as the world is eternal and the world is not eternal, the world is finite and the world is infinite, the soul and the body are the same, the soul is one thing, the body another, After death, a Tathagata exists, and after death, a Tathagata does not exist, etc. That is how those recluses and Brahmins of the third kind fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins, I say, are just like the deer of the third herd. I'll stop here for a moment. So here, this third group of monks and ascetics, they decided to live not too far from the bed and from the material things of the world. This can be likened to like the monks in the forest monastery. But then, if they don't get right, if they don't get right view, purification of view mentioned just now, then they will hold these different views like the world is eternal, the world is not eternal, the world is infinite, and all these things. And they have a lot of views, and if a person has a lot of views, he tend to argue with others. And also like nowadays, if a monk goes on the internet and all that, and that is also something material in the world. You can that is also can be considered one of Mara's bait, and you can get caught there. So such monks also can get caught by Mara, because when here it is mentioned, they came to hold views, which means that they did not get right view. And right view, I mentioned just now, is from learning the Buddha's Dhamma, the Buddha's original Dhamma, and paying proper attention. So some monks, they instead of studying the Buddha's words, the original words in the suttas, they go and read all other kinds of books, which will not help you to get right view, and so they will not get free of Mara. Now recluses and Brahmins of the fourth kind reckon thus: those recluses and Brahmins of the first kind, by acting as they did without precaution, fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins of the second kind and the third kind also fail to get free from Mara's power and control. Suppose we make our dwelling place where Mara and his following cannot go. Then having done so, we shall eat food not unwarily, without going right in amongst the bed that Mara has laid down, and the material things of the world. By doing so, we shall not become intoxicated. When we are not intoxicated, we shall not fall into negligence. When we are not negligent, Mara shall not do with us as he likes on account of that bed and those material things of the world. And they did so, and that is how those recluses and Brahmins of the fourth kind got free from Mara's power and control. Those recluses and Brahmins, I say, are just like the deer of the fourth herd. And where is it that Mara and his following cannot go? Here, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a monk enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of seclusion. This monk is said to have blindfolded Mara, to have become invisible to the evil one, by depriving Mara's eye of his opportunity. Again, with the stilling of applied and sustained thought, a monk enters upon and abides in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind without applied and sustained thought, with delight and pleasure born of concentration. This monk is said to have blindfolded Mara, to have become invisible to the evil one. Similarly, a monk enters and abides in the third jhana, the fourth jhana, and then the base of infinite space, the base of infinite consciousness, the base of nothingness, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. And then again, by completely surmounting the base of neither perception nor non-perception, a monk enters upon and abides in the cessation of perception and feeling, and his stains are destroyed by his seeing with wisdom. This monk is said to have blindfolded Mara, to have become invisible to the evil one, by depriving Mara's eye of his opportunity, and to have crossed beyond attachment to the world. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So here this fourth group of ascetics and monks, they dwell in a place where Mara could not reach them. And what is that place? You see from here is all the states of samadhi, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and the arupas or the arupa jhanas, and then culminating in the cessation of perception and feeling. This cessation of perception and feeling is also the state of cessation of consciousness. When the sixth consciousness ceases, it is also the state of final nibbana. So you see from the Buddha Suttas how important are the jhanas, because when you can attain jhana, you are beyond Mara's reach. Here it says you have blindfolded Mara to have become invisible to the evil one. So that is the only way that we can go beyond Mara's reach to attain the jhanas, and then the Mara will have no power to control us. So this simile of the deer herds. So the fourth group of deer that escaped the hunters are the group that went beyond the reach of the hunters. Similarly, the fourth group of monks and ascetics who went beyond the Mara's reach are those who have attained the various states of samadhi, jhana. So we find in the suttas, many suttas, the Buddha always stresses on attaining the jhanas. Because in one of the suttas, the Buddha says that unless we have attained the delight and happiness born of seclusion, piti and sukha, we will still be attracted to sensual pleasures, because sensual pleasures in the world give us a certain kind of happiness. But when we attain piti and sukha, which comes from the states of jhana, samadhi, and we experience a happiness, a bliss, which is superior to worldly or sensual pleasures. So when you attain a pleasure that is superior to worldly or sensual pleasures, then you are no more captivated by sensual pleasures. Just like formerly, suppose a man in this world, he was very rich and he had a very enjoyable, happy life in this world. But because he did good deeds, after that he was reborn in heaven. And when he was reborn in heaven and he looked down on the earth and he saw other people enjoying worldly happiness, the Buddha asked, would this Deva come down to enjoy worldly happiness? No. Why? Because he enjoys a higher happiness in heaven. Why should he come down to enjoy worldly happiness? So in the same way, the Buddha says, if a person can attain the bliss of jhana, a superior kind of happiness, he will not want to enjoy worldly happiness, inferior kind of happiness. So that is the only way we can be free of Mara and his bait, because the Mara's bait is all the worldly happiness, the five causes of sensual pleasure, beautiful sights, sounds, smells, taste and touch. So I think tonight this is all we have time for, and we can have some discussion. You know, the last few days I've been playing the Dhamma talks in the morning.
I got listen. But sometimes I not understand, but I'm not there to ask, because Bhante you sometimes very busy. I scared this one disturb you too much, not good. So I try to think by my own, but still cannot find answer.
Most people, when we pass away, we don't go to hell. Most people, I said, if you listen to my Dhamma talks, will go to the ghost realm, because most people, we don't do enough good karma, so we have used up our blessings, so most people go to the ghost realm. Only those who harm others do evil, harm others, they go to the animal and the hell realm. Okay? But if you listen to my Dhamma talks, you will know that the Buddha says that after our relative has passed on, we cannot help them because they are reborn in 5 destinations of rebirth. The best is the heaven, second best is human plane. Then after that is 3 woeful planes, ghost, animal and hell. Okay? Yeah. Out of these 5 places of rebirth, the Buddha says that we can only help those who are reborn as ghosts. Although the Buddha did not say why, but I believe because only ghosts can come back. So when ghosts come back, they're waiting for their relative to help them now. You cannot help them get another rebirth. Nobody can help. If you have any relative in hell, nobody can help them to get out of hell. It's only Mahayana books that say that you can help the relatives out of hell. Because you think carefully, the Buddha says that if anybody can help beings in hell to come out, then the Buddhas being so compassionate, the Buddhas would have made a vow or in some way help the beings out of hell. But if that is so, the hells will be empty, and the hells are not even empty of one being. So all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, not even a single one can help the beings out of hell or out of the animal or ghost realm. The Buddha says the most we can do is to help them in a small way. For example, a ghost would need 2 things. One is food, the other one is clothing. So we can do dana, charity. We offer food, we offer clothing, and we transfer the merit to them. The best is before you do the dana, the offering, you inform them first. 1 or 2 or 3 nights before you actually do, at night, you can light the incense and you inform them mentally. The Buddha says that all of us, we have relatives in the ghost realm, and they are all waiting for our help. So whenever you do any charity, you must firstly transfer to all your relatives in the ghost realm. These relatives in the ghost realm may be from this lifetime, may be from previous lifetime. I've forgotten about them, but they are still in the ghost realm. So firstly we transfer merit to them. After that we transfer to all other beings.
Before, then Buddha answered Venerable Sariputta. He said, it is for the sake of final Nibbana without clinging that the holy life is lived under the first one. So that the gracious final Nibbana without clinging, isn't it normal Nibbana is understood that there is no more clinging?
Yes.
Then why did he say here final Nibbana without clinging?
Because the other purifications mentioned, the 7 purifications, still have clinging. So it's only Nibbana that has no clinging.
Bante, regarding Alan's question about the hell realm, the animal, the ghost, they say when we pray 3 days before make the offering, do we mention the name of the person, or no, we don't know?
You just mentioned all my departed relatives. There's so many of them, you cannot remember their names.
If they know the name, their parents, or what?
If you say all my departed relatives, and then you think of your parents,
if they are in that realm, maybe they receive it. If not, they are.
Yeah.
And another question is regarding the first requirement to enter the Sotapanna state entry. You person go to listen to a Dhamma from another person. What about the present day? We have the books,
Listen.
the audio and video?
Yes, listen to the voice of another means learning the Dhamma from another person. It can either be from the books or from the CD. Includes all that.
Understanding what they are talking.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
But you notice that before you have this right view, you got to have purification of mind. In other words, you got to get rid of the 5 hindrances. If you don't get rid of the 5 hindrances, you listen to the Dhamma talk, it might not penetrate. So it's better that you have purification of mind.
Question you said the 3 lower realms are the ghost, animal realm, and the hell realm. Now you can see some animals, especially dogs. Sometimes the dogs, they are so well looked after. They don't suffer much at all. Compared with humans, you see some of them, they are really in the best state.
You see, our karmas are mixed, good and bad. Okay, so a person is born, for example, as a dog, because of certain bad karma, maybe too strong, sensual desire, too greedy for good food, and too lazy, sleeping a lot, and not developing the mind, a bit blur. But that person may have a good heart and may have done some charity. So having done charity, that person is born as an animal, but the owner takes good care of him or her. So we have mixed, our karmas are mixed. Also, we come from different places. Some people come from the heavenly realm, some people come from the human, some people come from the ghosts, and all these things.
One of Malaysia's neighbors, he visited the six gambling, like casino, for a long time. But now they changed their mind. And not only that, many years ago, still continuing, they are producing weapons. Now, relate this to our not indulging in this livelihood. Do you think this would mean that it's bad for the nation?
A country may produce weapons for self-defense, but if they don't use it in the wrong way, for sale, it would not be good.
Laws of gambling now. I see it's not a very good thing because the morality has deteriorated. Right, that's how I feel. So in the long run, it may not be good for the country.
Yeah.
Thank you. Earlier you mentioned about the Upachara Samadhi. If one has attained that state, doesn't mean that the 5 hindrances have been completely destroyed?
It is completely destroyed. That's what the Sutta say. But nowadays some monks, especially Vipassana monks, they say no. Because they are not quoting from the Sutta, they are quoting from their own teacher. But you have to see what the Sutta says. The Sutta says when a person has attained these various stages of Samadhi, the hindrances are eliminated. But of course the roots are not plucked out. If that person continues to meditate, the hindrances are not there. But if, for example, that person has become very lazy and didn't meditate for a few years, maybe, I'm not sure whether the hindrances will come back. But according to the suttas, once a person has attained those samadhi stages, they just are eliminated.
Going back to purification of virtue, purification of mind and purification of view. This Sila Samadhi Panya also interact with each, they condition each other. So as we purify our virtue, if we have a more purified mind, then we can see how fine we can develop our virtue in a finer way, in a sense.
Yeah.
And also we can get closer to right view. And my question is that I find that there's certain, like those people who practice the Visuddhi Marga, they have 7 stages of enlightenment, and some of them, especially the monks, they're very strict on their sila, and some of them have got very good concentration. So I was wondering, how can some of them insist that Abhidhamma and Visuddhi Marga are what the Buddha taught, and the Buddha's words, when it's quite obvious that they are not. And they have samadhi and they have virtue, and then how come they cannot see, you see? And they
usually it's because they don't study the suttas. Because many of them, their stress is on meditation, so they follow their meditation teacher, and the meditation teacher does not go into the suttas, and they are told to meditate the whole day to keep their sila, so they don't have much opportunity to investigate the suttas. It's unbalanced development. Even external ascetics, for example, a Hindu yogi, if he hasn't studied the Buddha's words, he may have good sila, he may have good samadhi, even to the extent of having psychic power, but because he's not familiar with the Buddha's Dhamma, and he does not believe in the Buddha's Dhamma, he will believe what his teacher tells him.
I say the Burmese tradition, I think that they are very thorough with, especially when they are new monks. I thought they would go through the Tipitaka, or whether they don't focus on it and they don't reflect on the Dhamma.
No, their stress is on meditation because they have created these meditation centers, and you look, they meditate 7.5 hours a day. They don't have time to investigate the suttas. You have to do it on your own.
I think one question on, this is just out of curiosity, one question on the jhana. One of the sutta in Digha Nikaya, there's a Sattapanha Sutta. Sakadeva Raja asked the Buddha whether he wanted to visit the Buddha, and he saw that the Buddha was meditating, and he told his charioteer to leave. And the Buddha said, later when Sakka related this to him, the Buddha says that yes, he was aware he visited, and it was the sound of the chariot that woke him from his jhana. So one day, when you're in deep jhana, I was thinking, that means he's very, very aware. Even the Deva's chariot, he could hear it.
This you have to contrast with another sutta where the Buddha once was meditating in the forest in the hut, and a storm arose and the trees fell and a few cows got killed. And after the storm, a lot of people were clearing all the trees and all that, and the Buddha came out and asked them what happened, why so many people about here. And they said there was a big storm. You didn't know? The Buddha said, I didn't know. Then they asked him, where were you? And the Buddha said, I was in the hut all the time. So the Buddha was trying to say that in this state of samadhi, even with the lightning and thunder, everything, I didn't know. So to explain this, when you look into the suttas, you can see that the 5 senses, the sight, sound, smells, taste and touch are cut off when a monk enters this arupa jhana. So in the first 4 drupa jhanas, these 5 sense doors are not shut off. It's only in the arupa jhanas that they are shut off. So in the first case, probably the Buddha was in rupa jhana. In the second case, in the storm, he was in arupa jhana. So he can know.
Hello, Bande. Talking about the Sutta 25, the third tier that we are talking about, the forest monastery. Regarding about the forest monastery, like we are like the third tier right now. So probably we are talking about, I'm talking today about about what we eat today, the monastery food is like the forest monastery because people offer good food for us. So I was thinking, yes, it's good for us and probably have to be very mindful that you don't take too much good food. So we can be like the 4th tier, right?
No. 4th tier is not just take good food, you must enter jhana.
Yeah, 4th tier, enter jhana. So third tier, we are like 3rd tier. So we have to be very careful to what we eat and be very mindful that don't take too much of good food.
Food is just one of the many things. Also, don't sleep too much.
So we are like very good food.
And don't use your handphone too much. So many things. And don't play with the internet. Okay, can we stop?